One morning, you wake up believing the power structure around you is permanent, unshakable, protected by decades of royal loyalty, the estate that funded your influence, the land that paid your family's salaries, the doors that opened simply because you were connected to the right woman. And then suddenly, quietly, brutally, it's gone. Not taken by strangers, taken by someone who watched everything. Someone younger, someone patient, someone who never forgot what happened to his mother. And right now, inside the British royal family, that exact shift of power is unfolding behind palace walls. The ripple is spreading through ancient estates, private payrolls, and family alliances that once seemed untouchable. And the woman whose family is suddenly feeling the heat, whose relatives are quietly disappearing from positions of influence, whose future access to some of the most powerful royal properties on earth may now depend on the goodwill of one man, is Queen Camilla. Because something monumental happened the moment Queen Elizabeth II died on September 8, 2022. The world saw grief, but inside the monarchy, power moved like lightning. In one instant, Charles became king. No ceremony required, no waiting period. The crown passed automatically, backed by centuries of constitutional law. And at that exact same moment, another transfer happened that many people outside royal circles barely understood. Prince William inherited control of one of the most powerful financial empires in Britain, the Duchy of Cornwall. Not a title, not a symbolic honor, a financial machine. 135,000 acres of land, farms, forests, rivers, businesses, cottages, and investments stretching across England. Nearly 19,000 acres in Cornwall alone. Vast landscapes in Devon, properties in Somerset and Herefordshire. Entire island chains like the Isles of Scilly. 700 years of accumulated royal wealth. All of it suddenly under William's command. Created in 1337 by King Edward III for his son, the Black Prince, the Duchy of Cornwall was designed with one rule that has never changed. It always belongs to the monarch's eldest son and heir. For centuries, it has funded the future king. And today, its value is estimated around $1.2 billion. In 2025 alone, the estate produced roughly $30 million in income. Tenant farms, holiday cottages, coastal land rights, investments quietly multiplying across generations. When William inherited it at age 40, he didn't just receive land, he received power. And power always raises a dangerous question. Who stays and who gets removed? Because the Duchy of Cornwall is only part of the royal property puzzle. To truly understand why Camilla's family suddenly looks nervous, you have to look beyond the duchy to the two private estates that sit at the emotional heart of the royal family. Sandringham, Balmoral. Unlike Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle, these are not state properties. They do not belong to the government. They are not managed by royal committees. They are private family assets. Sandringham House in Norfolk has been the royal family's countryside retreat since the days of Queen Victoria. Christmas celebrations, family gatherings, political conversations away from London's press. It is where royals relax, argue, mourn, and reconnect. Balmoral Castle, sitting across 53,680 acres of the Scottish Highlands, is even more personal. Purchased by Prince Albert for Queen Victoria, it became the place where generations of monarchs escaped the pressures of the crown. And it was inside Balmoral that Queen Elizabeth II drew her final breath. When she died, both estates passed directly to King Charles III. Not the government, not the crown estate. Charles personally inherited them. For now, that means Camilla enjoys full access, private stays, family gatherings, staff support, the prestige of living within the most exclusive properties the monarchy possesses. Her sister Annabelle worked within these estates. Her family moved comfortably within royal circles. But here is the uncomfortable reality Camilla understands better than anyone. Charles will not reign forever. And when Charles dies, Sandringham and Balmoral will automatically pass to William. At that moment, the structure changes dramatically. Camilla would no longer be the woman of the house. She would be a guest whose future invitations depend entirely on the man who grew up watching his mother's heartbreak unfold in front of the world. Think about that dynamic for a moment, because William's recent actions suggest the transition may already be underway, and the first signal came through a decision so quiet that most people missed it completely. A payroll change. Annabelle Elliot, interior designer, social figure, trusted royal associate, but more importantly, Queen Camilla's younger sister. For nearly 20 years, Annabelle held a privileged position within the Duchy of Cornwall. When Charles married Camilla in 2005, he brought her sister into the royal fold. Annabelle began working as interior designer for duchy properties across Britain, holiday cottages, historic homes, estate buildings used by visitors and tenants. Her payments were listed publicly in Duchy financial reports. Some years she earned about $19,000. Other years, when projects expanded, the figure climbed to more than $82,000. For 2 decades, she shaped the interiors of royal properties across Cornwall and beyond. Her style influenced how visitors experienced the duchy. Her work appeared across properties enjoyed by guests from around the world. And then William became Duke of Cornwall. Not long after, Annabelle Elliot's name disappeared from the payroll. No announcement, no scandal, no dramatic firing, just silence. Royal watchers scanning the duchy financial records noticed the change immediately. Her name was gone. Royal commentators described the move cautiously. One expert explained that Annabelle had been working across duchy properties for years, but since William took control, she had quietly been removed. A small change on paper, but inside royal circles, it sent shockwaves. Because it wasn't just a removal, it was a replacement. William began appointing his own people, trusted friends, allies. Even the godparents of his children were brought into estate roles, including figures like Harry Aubrey Fletcher and William Van Cutsum. Out went Camilla's family connections. In came William's inner circle. No official explanation was required. The message was obvious to everyone inside palace walls. The duchy no longer belonged to Charles's world. It belonged to William's. And suddenly the question became unavoidable. Is this simply a future king modernizing a billion-dollar estate? Or is something far more personal driving these choices? Because to understand why every decision William makes about the duchy carries emotional weight, you have to rewind the story decades. Back to a boy growing up inside a collapsing royal marriage. Back to whispered arguments behind palace doors. Back to a mother who loved deeply and suffered publicly. Prince William watched the breakdown of Charles and Diana's marriage unfold while the world consumed every headline. The affair between Charles and Camilla was not just a rumor inside royal circles. In 1994, Charles himself confirmed it in a televised interview that stunned Britain. The damage was immediate. Diana's pain became public. The loneliness, the betrayal, the emotional collapse of a marriage that had once symbolized the fairy tale future of the monarchy. William and Harry were young, but they were not blind. They saw, they heard, they understood far more than adults often realized. And when Diana died in that Paris tunnel in August 1997, William was only 15, a teenage boy forced to walk behind his mother's coffin while millions watched the grief on his face. The monarchy survived that moment, but the emotional imprint it left on William never disappeared. He eventually accepted Camilla's place within the family. He attended his father's wedding to her in 2005. Publicly, he has treated her with respect and civility. But acceptance is not the same thing as loyalty, and there is a very clear difference between welcoming someone into the family and allowing their relatives to remain embedded inside the financial machinery of the future king. Because the Duchy of Cornwall is not a dinner table. It is a billion-dollar enterprise, and the man who will one day become king is making something unmistakably clear. The people who run his kingdom will be people he chooses, not people inherited from the past. Because what is happening now inside the British monarchy is not just a quiet reshuffling of estate employees. It is something much bigger, something deeper, something that reveals how power really works inside one of the oldest institutions on earth. And once you see it clearly, you realize something unsettling. The transition from Charles's era to William's era has already begun. Not with a coronation, not with a speech, but with decisions so quiet they almost look invisible. The removal of Annabelle Elliot was one of those signals. A small administrative change on paper, but a massive symbolic shift inside royal circles. For 2 decades, Camilla's sister had enjoyed a privileged role shaping duchy properties. Her presence represented continuity from Charles's world, relationships built over decades, informal loyalties, personal trust. But William is not Charles. And the moment he inherited the Duchy of Cornwall, the rules started changing. Because the duchy is not just a property portfolio, it is the financial backbone of the future king, the system that funds independence from government control, the economic engine that allows the Prince of Wales to operate without relying entirely on public money. And when you control something worth over $1.2 billion, every decision becomes a declaration. William could have kept things exactly the same. He could have allowed long-standing arrangements to continue quietly. After all, Annabelle Elliot had worked within the duchy for nearly 20 years. Removing her was not required. It was a choice. And that choice told everyone watching something unmistakable. This era will not be managed by inherited loyalties. It will be built around new alliances. Because after Annabelle left the payroll, William didn't leave those positions empty. He filled them with people from his own circle, friends he trusted personally, families that had been close to him and Catherine for years. Names like Harry Aubrey Fletcher and William Van Cutsum began appearing around duchy operations. To an outsider, that might look like a routine administrative adjustment, but to people inside the palace system, it looked like something much more deliberate. A boundary being drawn. Charles's network on one side, William's network on the other. And that line matters because of what William will eventually inherit. Right now, he controls the Duchy of Cornwall, a 135,000-acre estate producing around $30 million a year. But when Charles dies, the scale of that power expands dramatically. At that moment, William becomes king, and the list of assets transferring to him becomes staggering. Sandringham House in Norfolk, Balmoral Castle across 53,000 acres of Scottish wilderness, the monarch's private art collections, historic jewelry passed down through generations, and the broader crown estate system that represents tens of billions in national assets managed on behalf of the country. Even now, the royal family's total wealth across property, land, and investments is estimated at over £18 billion. That is not just prestige, that is influence. Control over who works within those estates, who receives contracts, who is invited to stay, who quietly disappears from the system. And that possibility may explain a decision Camilla quietly made recently, a move that surprised many royal observers. She sold Ray Mill House in Wiltshire. That property had been her personal escape long before she married Charles, a private sanctuary where she gardened, relaxed, and described the land as therapeutic. Selling it removed one of the few homes she fully controlled outside the royal system, which means her long-term housing options are increasingly tied to royal property that will soon be controlled by William. And that brings us to another figure, rising quietly but powerfully within this unfolding story, Catherine, the Princess of Wales. While much of the public attention focuses on William's growing authority, Catherine's role is expanding alongside his in ways that may prove just as significant. Because when William becomes king, Catherine becomes queen consort. And with that transition comes access to some of the most symbolic and powerful assets of the monarchy, royal estates, historic jewels, and perhaps most importantly, influence. Catherine is already one of the most admired members of the royal family. Her public standing grew even stronger after her 2024 cancer diagnosis, when she revealed her treatment with remarkable honesty and composure. The moment reshaped public perception. People saw strength, vulnerability, determination, and when she returned to royal duties, the support surrounding her became overwhelming. The power has already moved. Most people just haven't realized it yet, but the people inside the palace noticed immediately, especially the moment Annabelle Elliot's name disappeared from that financial report.